But just 3 weeks later, in the very same venue, two of the UFC's most talented fighters, Chuck Liddell and Quinton Rampage Jackson, put on a show of skill and technique before 15,000 fans. There may be nothing sweet about this science, but the masters of mixed martial arts are proving they are no longer the barbaric brutes of the past. They can even hold their own with boxing's best in the sport's backyard, the Las Vegas Strip.
It took a while for UFC to really catch on, but now that they have, they've done it in a big way.
Richard Sturm is president of sports and entertainment for MGM Mirage.
If you have two of the Ultimate Fighting Championship's biggest fighters against two of the boxing biggest fighters, I think you're talking about a similar draw as far as audience goes.
The UFC's rise has been a boon to Las Vegas itself, bringing in $86 million in non-gaming revenue in 2008 alone. A sign says Dana White that the two sports can share space on the Strip.
What does it mean to you that people now talk about the UFC the way they used to talk about boxing here in Las Vegas?
I'm proud of it. I mean, I grew up a huge boxing fan, a fan of the fighters, a fan of the promoters, and, you know, to be where we are today is, you know, it's a little surreal sometimes.
While the UFC has proven it can stand toe-to-toe with boxing, it has faced increased competition from inside the sport of mixed martial arts, from other organizations who have tried to copy its success. One group may not have the track record of the UFC, but it does have a trump card, the Donald himself, who along with another maverick, Mark Cuban, is supporting Affliction, an apparel company turned fight club. Their ace in the hole, Russian heavyweight Fedor Emelianenko, considered by many to be the best fighter in the world.
If you have your own money behind this, you must think fairly highly of it.
Oh, I do. I think the sport itself is hot. I really believe it's the #1 growing sport of any sport in the world.
Cuban has used his cable TV network to showcase Affliction fights.
So you really think there's room for a competitor with the UFC?
Oh, yeah. The stronger the #1, the stronger the #2, right?
Well, neither you nor Mr. Trump get into anything to come in second place.
No question, right? But you know what? You don't have to win the race day one.
But as it turned out, it wouldn't take long for Cuban and Trump to find out how hard it can be to compete with the UFC, even with a big bankroll. Only weeks before heavyweights Fedor and Josh Barnett were set to mix it up in a highly anticipated fight, Affliction called it quits after Barnett tested positive for steroids. To Dana White, Affliction is just another casualty in a long line of challengers.
Guys have raised millions and millions of dollars with lots of high-profile guys coming head-to-head with us, and they all fail. You know why? They have no idea what they're doing. You know, it's like, let's start a fast food chain that's going to compete with McDonald's. Let's look at how much money NASCAR's making. Let's get a couple of their drivers and start our own race league. But I need Mark Cuban. I need him and all the other multi-billionaires, because what they do is they come in, they drop millions and millions of dollars on creating new talent.
Talent White is more than happy to poach for the UFC, as a growing number of his marquee fighters are nearing retirement.
And here he comes, Antonio Nogueira.
In 2007, the UFC bought Japanese rival Pride Fighting Championship, quickly dismantled the league, and signed several of its top fighters, including Wanderlei Silva and Dan Henderson. Another fighter White thinks can be a breakout hit is Dan Hardy, a former art student from England who sports a bright red mohawk and a catchy nickname.
I hear they call you the Picasso of pain. What's that about?
I have heard that, yeah. I did art at university.
Yeah? What's an art student doing this?
Painting the canvas with blood, I guess.
So you're making a pretty good living doing this now?
It's getting better. I don't have to work anymore. You know, up to 4 fights ago, I had a full-time job as well. It's nice to be able to dedicate full-time to the sport, though, because it takes a lot out of you.
Hardy and other up-and-comers now shoulder the burden of living up to the hype, but that challenge can occasionally hit a speed bump. Just after heavyweight champ and former professional wrestler Brock Lesnar beat the pulp out of Frank Mir in UFC 100, he landed a body blow on Bud Light, one of the UFC's biggest sponsors. Lesnar grabbed the mic inside the octagon and badmouthed the brand. That little antic earned him an earful from Dana White. Lesnar showed up later at the post-fight presser with a cold one and an apology.
I apologize to Bud Light. I acted very unprofessionally after the fight.
It was a misstep Dana White knows the UFC can hardly afford, and an unwelcome bit of drama for a league that has grown from blood sport to big time.
You know, I'm sitting right where I dreamt I would be sitting when I was a kid, and I love it. I love this stuff.
I always believed that we could get here, and I believe that it's going to be bigger than this. I think that we're not anywhere close to where this thing's going to be. It's going to be the biggest sport in the world.
While Dana White and the UFC may have reached new economic heights, their fight for credibility is far from over. The league is still lobbying to put on events in a handful of holdout states, and White himself has been criticized for some of his tactics. Nevertheless, the league continues to attract the attention of fans and sponsors worldwide. It remains a controversial business and a profitable one. For CNBC, I'm Scott Wapner. Thanks for watching.